my message is going to be on leadership. I'm actually going to just dive right in here and share my message with you guys. And mine's growing your leadership. And by the way, I want to share with you, if you're like sharing some lessons, I want to give you some lessons right here. Some of the lessons that I took away from these messages here. You're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. When you work, that's supposed to be hard on yourself, hair on yourself. When you put hair on yourself, whatever. So that's not even hair. So whatever. The tortoise and the hare. When you work hard on yourself, you make a fortune. What am I becoming? Right? What am I becoming? Put yourself in a position of choice. Leadership is a skill that will always be sought after. Other lessons learned. Treat it like an independent study class. That was a huge takeaway that Mike King said. Treat it like an independent study class. It should be your most important class because it's the class that's going to help you grow more than any other class in college. There's not much I learned in college that I use. I learned how to learn in college. That's what I learned in college, is how to learn. That was pretty much mainly what I learned. What I learned in Cutco, I've been using. Well, I'm in Cutco, but if I went anywhere else, I'd be using it as well. Consistent communication with your manager. By the way, when I was growing up, no one ever had the term ghosting didn't exist. If someone would have said ghosted, I would have thought of like a ghost, right? Like ghosting. And the communication that Mike talked about, I thought was fire. Selling consistency equals income and confidence, equals savings and confidence. By the way, why do we want to see a person save? Because the company spends over $10,000 on every branch manager that runs an office. So if someone can't save their money, they're going to blow the company's money. I would never want to work with someone who's going to blow the company's money. So someone who's fiscally responsible, that was awesome, and act as if. Just act as if. You might be like, I'm curious about this, act as if. All right. So let's talk about leadership. Leadership is action, not a position. I want you to write that down. Leadership is action, not a position. Some people want to become a leader so they can say, hey, I run an office. Well, if you don't take action, if you're not an action-driven person, you're actually not a leader. A title doesn't make you a leader. What you do makes you a leader, right? You can look at a basketball team. I grew up in the Bulls era, watching Michael Jordan play, right? The coach was the leader, but he was the leader always. He was always telling people what to do, so they had a championship team. And there was action, not a position. Okay, so let's define leadership. So go ahead and share in the chat what leadership is. What is leadership? So share in the chat what you think leadership is. I can't see anything. Jacob, if you could read off just give me a definition of what you guys think is leadership.
Quentin says ability to influence people. Becca mentions example of hard work and perseverance, lead by example, guiding others, serving others, guidance, quality or skill, influence.
By the way, a lot of great things. I'm going to give you the definition of leadership. Leadership is the ability to influence change. That's what true leadership is. It takes something from where it's at and takes it in a better direction, okay? Or keeps it going in a great direction, but it's change. By the way, there's a book by Jim Collins called Good to Great. Read it years ago. After I read it, I got it on audio. I don't know how many times I've listened to it. And he talks about the greatest corporations in the history of the United States. They navigate through change. So my dad worked for Sears for 34 years. Okay. By the way, Sears did not navigate change very well. Walmart has, right? All these retail stores struggling, Walmart's thriving. Because what did they do? They do a lot of what's similar to Amazon. So people that can influence change, when the market and things change, that creates success. By the way, if you want to learn how to be great at that, look at our business. 98% of our demos were done live a year and a half ago. And as soon as COVID hit, we had to switch instantly to 100% virtual. And we had virtual demos, but we didn't have the virtual demo that you guys do. And we developed it in weeks. And we had it working. And we had our biggest year in the history of the company last year during COVID. right? If you want to learn that skill, here's a great place. We have amazing leaders in our business. By the way, I want to ask you guys this. How long does it take to become an expert at something? Jacob, if you could share.
Lifetime, Pierre says 10,000 hours. Mike King, 10,000 hours. Kurt
All right. Those of you, some of you have read it. It does take 10,000 hours to be an expert. It is 10,000 hours to become an expert. Okay. I love when people get it right? Can you hold back? But other people already had it. So I love seeing it. 10,000 hours. And when I share that with you guys, you heard Dane Espegard go, one of the things he loves about still being here is because he's still growing, right? I think that's pretty cool when you see someone who is number one in the company at running an office, his division's number two, soon to be number one. And he's here because he's still growing. And because the growth constantly is happening. And to be an expert, it does take time. So what I want to do is I want to talk about what can I do to accelerate my leadership growth? And that's one of the things I want to kind of get into with you here. So how do I accelerate that growth for you? Okay. Sorry, King, I still have you pinned accidentally. I don't know if you guys can unpin Mike and maybe pin me. So you guys have probably listening to me looking at Mike. He's better looking, so that's fine. We can just leave him pinned. All right. So what can I do to accelerate my growth in leadership? All right. So go ahead and share in the chat. What are things you can do? What are things that you can do to accelerate your growth in leadership?
Carson says, reach up. Bianca, learn from other leaders, ask questions, get advice from leaders, ask questions, take initiative, learn from peers, ask questions, create more whys, challenge yourself.
So one thing that you notice when you see people that speak, and there's always consistent lessons. And when you see people speak and you go, oh, this is what this person said. This is what, sometimes we're listening to the exactly what they're saying. I think what's really powerful is to read between the lines. Everybody that you have heard spoke says, I talked to this person. I connected with this person. I connected with this person. I reached out. Okay. And every single speaker has talked about seeking mentorship, seeking surrounding themselves with great people. So how do you become great? How do you become a great leader? How do you become a great at anything? As you heard, surround yourself with great people. That's one of the most important and valuable skills to becoming a great leader. Be around great leaders. Ask. Now, by the way, Mike King said, ask. One of the key things to be successful in anything you do is ask. I've had people say, I don't feel comfortable asking my friends' parents to do a demo. Are you like, well, you're going to have a shitty life, right? Because if you can't ask your friends' parents to do a demo, you're never going to get anywhere in life because you're going to have to ask people that you don't even know for something, for their time, for their expertise. And if you want to become great, to accelerate that leadership, you have to reach out. How else can you accelerate your leadership? Let's share a few more ideas. Yeah, go ahead and put them in the chat, and then Jacob will read them.
Work on personal development, keep learning, learn as much as possible, take responsibility. Taking
Work on
yourself out of your comfort zone.
By the way, work on yourself is huge, right? Working on yourself. Again, we talked about surrounding yourself with the right people. There's a couple you read in there.
Yeah, there's grow, work outside your comfort zone. Be willing to listen to those who know more.
Yeah, and being open to, I'm going to give you one here, be open to criticism. By the way, most people that are good at giving criticism are people that so again, there's ways of getting and giving criticism. You guys understand, like, to be a great leader, you have to also be able to be humble and really help. It's to help people, right? So some people are like, oh, you did this wrong. That's not good leadership. Hey, I like this. But what I think you could do to make it a little bit better is this. And so to become a good leader, it's also becoming a good coach. Okay, it's being a good coach. It's also being a good student, being able to willing to listen. Okay, so what does growing yourself look like? So some of you guys said growing myself. So that's one of the biggest things I have in here. To more than anything else is growing yourself. So what does growing yourself look like? I want you to write down in your notes, what does growing myself look like? That's the most important area for you to become a great leader.
You want me to read them, Greg?
Yeah, go ahead.
We got about 55 seconds. Breakout rooms were just closed. So
Yep, I'll go quick.
cool. Personal development, positive attitude, caring, expand your knowledge and confidence, expand my knowledge, personal development, good habits.
Great. I think reading, reaching out, finding mentors, finding the right people to surround yourself with. I'm going to go quick here just because I'm short on time here. And I can't see here. I got to escape here. This thing's popping in my face. All right. Who do I need to communicate with? That should be you should have a mentor. That would be your manager. A couple other things. What can I do to, excel in my leadership? How often are you working on it? Mike gave you the goods. Independent study. I actually think you should take 30 minutes every day and work on Cutco. Work on growing yourself. And are you influencing the change, or are others changing you? And I think that's a really important thing to be thinking about. Am I letting other people influence where I'm